According to a new report from Fox News, one of the star witnesses brought forth by Democrats in the impeachment inquiry may have committed perjury. The Daily Mail states, former ambassador to Ukraine Marie Yovanovitch used her personal email account to message Democrat staffer over a time-sensitive and delicate issue a month before the whistleblower complaint was made public. Marie Yovanovitch testified under oath she had not replied to Laura Carey. Fox News says it seems like she was dishonest. Lee Zeldin, who was questioning her at the time, says something similar. But there are a couple points here. For one, who was meeting with Adam Schiff and the Democrats beforehand? Why were they doing it and how long was it going on? It's possible it was all in the up and up. They wanted to question her about things before moving forward, maybe make sure it was legit. But the other issue is, will they hold Marie Yovanovitch to the same standard, say, Michael Flynn was held to? He's facing penalties over lying to the FBI. I know lying to the FBI and perjury are somewhat different, but it's both about lying in the course of an investigation, right? Well, what do we see from Twitter today? Is there an outrage over the statements made by Marie Yovanovitch? Yes, among conservatives. But the left is mostly talking about whether or not Donald Trump Jr. broke the law by tweeting a publicly available article with the name of the alleged whistleblower. It seems that in the end, what I have to look forward to in my daily news gathering practice is partisanship. Of course, the right will highlight this, and I do think it is important. And of course, the left is going to target Donald Trump Jr. However, I've got bad news for everybody. If these allegations are true, perjury, it's a crime. Donald Trump Jr. tweeting out a story, not a crime. So this is the focus of today. Who committed the crime? Let's start with Marie Yovanovitch, because this one actually seems serious and may actually undermine much of the impeachment inquiry. Before we get started, make sure you head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's multiple ways you can give: physical option, PayPal option, cryptocurrency. Of course, the best thing you can do is share this video. I don't have a big marketing budget. The best way for me to continue doing the work that I do and grow my business is if you share this content because you think it's important. If you don't think it's important, don't share it. I don't deserve it anyway. But if you do think I'm doing a good job, please consider sharing this video. Let's read. The Daily Mail reports, the former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine used her personal email account to message a Democratic staffer over a delicate issue a month before the whistleblower complaint was made public, according to Fox News. Marie Yovanovitch testified under oath she had not replied to Democratic congressional staffer Laura Carey. Three-time ambassador Marie Yovanovitch, who was abruptly recalled from Kiev in May, gave a closed-door deposition on October 11th to 3 congressional committees investigating whether there were grounds to impeach Trump. She is a key witness in House Democrats' impeachment inquiry, which began on September 24th after a whistleblower's allegations that Trump pressured Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate unsubstantiated corruption charges against Democratic political rival Joe Biden and his son Hunter. Kerry's emails and Yovanovitch's reported replies will raise questions of who knew about the whistleblower complaint before it was made public and which Democrats were warned of its contents. It will also lead to question on whether Yovanovitch committed perjury. I want to stress the point from yesterday that the lawyer for the whistleblower tweeted years ago, the coup has started. I'm not going to tell you what to think about this, but I think the context is important. That years before the call was even made, this lawyer was calling for impeachment, was saying the coup had begun, and before the whistleblower complaint was made public, Democrats apparently, it seems, were having meetings about this. And it's even been reported that the whistleblower met with Schiff's people before filing the complaint. It calls into question the potential bias over what's actually happening. Now, in my opinion, I think the Democrats are just throwing a Hail Mary to get any ground they can against Trump. I'm not saying Trump is perfect. I think Trump has done a lot of things to be criticized over, like the G7 at Trump Durrell was a huge mistake. But of course, if I don't say that, they'll claim I'm carrying water for the man. No, let's be real. As far as I can tell based on the evidence, this is a politically motivated impeachment because they know they have no play in 2020. Negative partisanship is what they are relying on. Target Trump as a bad person to drum up voters to vote against him instead of voting for the Democrats. But let's I don't want to derail. Let's keep reading. They say, Yovanovitch is said to have replied to Kerry regarding the time-sensitive issue 2 days after the whistleblower filed their complaint over Trump's infamous call with Ukrainian president. That despite telling Republican Rep. Lee Zeldin I alerted the State Department because I'm still an employee, and so matters are generally handled through the State Department. They say Yovanovitch added, so she emailed me, I alerted the State Department, and, asked them to handle the correspondence. And she emailed me again and said, who should I be in touch with? I didn't respond to that email because I had already transferred everything to the State Department and I figured they would be in touch, and they were. But Fox News reports she did reply, writing, she would love to reconnect and look forward to chatting with you. Zeldin told the network, I would highly suspect that this Democratic staffer's work was connected in some way to the whistleblower's effort, which has evolved into this impeachment charade. We do know that the whistleblower was in contact with Adam Schiff's team before the whistleblower had even hired an attorney or filed a whistleblower complaint, even though Schiff had lied to the public, originally claiming that there was no contact. Additionally, while the contents of the email from the staffer to Ambassador Yovanovitch clearly state what the conversation would be regarding, Yovanovitch, when I asked her specifically what the staffer was looking to speak about, did not provide these details. I specifically asked her whether the Democratic staffer was responded to by Yovanovitch or the State Department. It is greatly concerning that Ambassador Yovanovitch didn't answer my question as honestly as she would have, especially while under oath. A Democratic House Foreign Affairs Committee spokesperson said the correspondence was to hear from an ambassador whose assignment was cut short under unusual circumstances. They argue the outreach was part of a months-long effort that culminated in the September 9th launch of an investigation into these events. Is it possible then that they were meeting to discuss the impeachment inquiry? I guess that's what they're trying to figure out, and most signs point to yes. Why then would she lie about it? It's possible. Maybe it just slipped her mind. It was a slip of the tongue. She didn't remember responding. That's possible, right? Well, it doesn't matter. She swore under oath to a statement of fact. So whether or not anything comes of that, we'll see. But the big story that I see on Twitter amongst all of the blue checky journalists is not about this potentially groundbreaking perjury case. It's about the name of the whistleblower. So I thought it's the perfect opportunity to segue into who committed the real crime. Marie Yovanovitch, potentially misleading Congress and an impeachment inquiry under oath, or Donald Trump Jr., who tweeted out a publicly available article. It's crazy to me that that's the mental gymnastics being played here. Now you can argue this is nothing, it's a nothing burger, and nothing will come of it. Fine. I honestly don't think anything will come of it. But how they're trying to play it up like Donald Trump did anything wrong, let's do something real quick. First, here's the publicly available article from October 30th that Donald Trump Jr. tweeted out. They include the name Eric Ciaramella that is being floated as the whistleblower. Fits the bill. It's the name that most people are referring to, I believe, when they're talking about whether or not they should say the name. This is publicly available information. Nobody revealed anything. But what is happening now with The View and the people who are ignoring the Yovanovitch story is they're trying to conflate and stretch a law to make an argument that it's possibly illegal to say this person's name, even though it's been public for weeks. That's the game they're playing. Well, first, we have Lee Zeldin, who tweeted, it appears Ambassador Yovanovitch did not accurately answer this question I asked her during her impeachment inquiry deposition under oath. Nobody wants to say she committed a crime. I don't know what to tell you, man. There's no problem on The View when I can't remember who said it, but they straight up said, Donald Trump Jr., you committed a crime. Why is it the left has no problem saying you committed a crime? But when it comes to this story from Fox News, it appears she wasn't honest. It seems as though she committed perjury. Now listen, I would never accuse Donald Trump Jr. of committing a crime. And I will absolutely say she may have perjured herself. She may have committed perjury. That's the claim from Fox News. These stories can change. Who knows what'll happen? But on The View, they said straight up, on Twitter, all of these pundits are saying Donald Trump Jr. straight up committed a crime. Check this out. Abby Huntsman clashes with Trump Jr. over whistleblower on The View, suggests he acted like a dictator. In fact, I think one of the quotes from The View was, it is a crime to name the whistleblower. Donald Trump Jr. says, no, it's not. And then the woman responds, my law degree says it is. They are straight up saying Don Jr. committed a federal crime, a violation of U.S. code. But the U.S. code they're citing talks about threatening an individual to influence a congressional inquiry, not tweeting out publicly available information. Well, let's read a little bit about their outrage. Fox News says, The president's son had a contentious interview on The View. I'm sure many of you saw it. I did do a segment a bit about it yesterday. They say on Tuesday he defended himself against criticisms over his decision to tweet the name of the whistleblower who reported his father's controversial call with President of Ukraine. Co-host Abby Huntsman started the interview by suggesting Trump Jr. was acting like a dictator by posting the whistleblower's name on social media. The whole point of releasing a name is to intimidate someone, stretch number 1. To threaten someone, stretch number 2. And to scare other people from coming out, stretch number 3. That's something that dictators do. That's not what America does. That's not what we do. Donald Trump Jr. responded by claiming the whistleblower's name had already been mentioned by multiple media outlets. I think the reality of the answer is the whistleblower's name was on a little website called The Drudge Report, which gets millions of views or more, Trump said, referring to the popular news aggregation site. Co-host Sonny Hostin pushed back, arguing that it was different for him, as the president's son, to broadcast the name. Why? I mean, I'm a private citizen putting this out there, Trump Jr. said. Jr. was on the show to promote his new book, Triggered, How the Left Thrives on Hate and Wants to Silence Us. The interview unraveled into chaos several times when the group was talking over each other, prompting Whoopi Goldberg to step in and break up the conversation. Huntsman also accused Donald Trump Jr. of hypocrisy in complaining about leakers while his father was willing to use information from WikiLeaks. If you talk about hypocrisy, you seem fine with leaking information if it makes you and your father look good, because WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, I think, is a cyber terrorist, right? And I think a Russian puppet. You were fine promoting his stuff. Slow down there, The View, okay? Now, there's an article from CNN asking whether or not it was a crime. That's the big debate because of this The View segment. But let me just stop and say, I actually can agree with some of the criticism. They did champion WikiLeaks and the leaks of Democrat emails and then lamented the leaking of their own private information, but that just seems normal to me. Like, yeah, everybody cheers when they get an advantage on their opponent and then complains when it affects them. I don't think they're special in that regard, and I think they actually could take the high road and say, we don't want the leaks to happen. Yeah, I know we did this. Yes, people are, like, I don't know how to describe it, right? Donald Trump Jr., of course, is going to be happy when information comes out exposing corruption, and of course he's going to be mad when it affects him. The bigger question, though, outside of all of this ridiculousness, is the question of committing a crime, to which CNN decided to publish an article today in response to what happened on The View, for the most part. But the question has been circulating because people have been asking, even Rand Paul. They said, is it a crime? Or they've accused him straight up saying it is a crime to do this. It's not a crime, okay? I'm not a lawyer, but I will tell you this. You can argue a crime fits the bill. And if a judge approves of it, fine. One thing I pointed out in, I believe it was on my second channel maybe, that disorderly conduct can sometimes act as a hate speech law. So if you're outside yelling offensive things, they might arrest you and claim it's disorderly conduct, that you're disturbing the peace. So sure, you do have the First Amendment, but there's always ways they can kind of conflate things. That's what they're doing here. Is it illegal to out the whistleblower? Let's get to the specifics. Coverage under U.S. Criminal Code, they say, and this is in reference to The View, Trump Jr. is not covered by the same protections as, say, his father, the president, or Rand Paul. So Trump is protected because they believe criminal statutes don't apply to the president. Rand Paul is protected because on the floor of Congress, he has something, he's protected under the speech and debate clause. Trump Jr. is not covered. During Trump Jr.'s appearance on The View, Sonny Hostin, one of the show's co-hosts and a lawyer, argued outing the whistleblower would be considered a federal crime under Section 1505 of Title 18 U.S.C. Pursuant to this code, threats that impede or attempt to influence any congressional inquiry are punishable by fines or imprisonment up to 5 years. If the whistleblower or their prosecutor successfully made the case that these threats to identify the whistleblower impacted the House impeachment inquiry, then Trump Jr. could be charged accordingly, but full stop. I will make sure we draw the distinction here because, let me be real with you. We had two big stories today that are somewhat related, but kind of on different sides of the tribe. I feel like I'm playing a video game with two factions, and I'm trying to break down these stories, right? The first instance is the right is targeting Marie Yovanovitch, saying she may have committed perjury. That's an objective offense, okay? If you lied under oath, I'm sorry, that's a crime. What Trump Jr. did, however, where the left is focused, is not, and they're stretching it to an absurd degree. But let me be clear. I'm not making a definitive statement about Marie Yovanovitch. Nobody else wants to either. And I'm also rejecting what they're saying about Trump. So you got to be careful, okay? I don't want to get sued here. And of course, everyone's being careful. But I will stress that point again. The left has no problem saying you committed a federal crime. However, when it comes to Marie Yovanovitch, when you can clearly state, according to Fox News, even Fox News says it appears she was dishonest or something to that effect. So here's the thing. Is it threatening someone to name them? They could probably argue that, okay? But it's still an argument that I think is fairly weak. We'll see what happens in the court. I'm not a lawyer. However, what we have here is something substantially different. If somebody was given private information and no one knew the whistleblower's name and they said, I'm going to release their name, that could potentially threaten or intimidate the whistleblower and make them go into hiding or pull out or cancel. But what if the name is already publicly available? What if all Donald Trump Jr. did was tweet out a story from real, clear investigations? Well, I don't see how you can argue that he committed a crime in that regard. He's sharing a public story. At this point, the name is public. We are playing a weird game here. Eric Ciaramella is the person accused of being the whistleblower. Why is that so hard for anyone to say? But for some reason, news outlets won't say it, even though we all know the name. They won't say it. You can say alleged whistleblower. What do you want me to do? It's a publicly available article. It was on Red State. It was on, I think, Town Hall. All of these different outlets are running with it. Of course, the left-wing sites don't want to name the whistleblower, even though it's public information. To me, that's absurd. Okay, the information's out there, right? It's possible Ciaramella is not the whistleblower, however, so maybe that's where we're still at. But to try and argue it was a crime, here's the more important thing. They're also kind of admitting Ciaramella is the whistleblower. Think about it. They're saying that Donald Trump Jr. committed a crime under Section 1505 by outing the whistleblower. They said he posted the whistleblower's name. Well, Real Clear Investigations doesn't say it's definitive. They say this is the name being floated. So why are they claiming that is the whistleblower? Perhaps everybody's jumping the gun a bit too much, or perhaps they know something we don't, and Ciaramella literally is the whistleblower, right? But let's read on, because they try. CNN says, hey, maybe there's another way what Donald Trump Jr. Did. Maybe there's another way it's a crime. According to statute 18 U.S.C. 1513, whoever knowingly, with the intent to retaliate, takes any action harmful to any person, including interference with the lawful employment or livelihood of any person, for providing to a law enforcement officer any truthful information relating to the commission or possible commission of any federal offense, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. Okay, there's no retaliation. There is no threat. It is literally tweeting out publicly available information. So let's take it one step further. If Rand Paul, not on the floor of Congress, not under the speech and debate clause, stated this name, did he commit a crime? No, the name's already public. If I say the name, is it a crime? Absolutely not. I'm reading publicly available information. That is absurd. So you're really stretching it if you want to now accuse Donald Trump Jr. But, I love it, because they're not just accusing Trump Jr., they're blaming Russia. I kid you not. And here we are. Thanks to Rand Paul, Russian media are naming the alleged whistleblower. Outing the whistleblower is the most egregious, but certainly not the only example of Kremlin-funded media cheerleading the fight against impeachment. They love their Trump. And there it is. Welcome to the culture war. A war between those who live in wacky, zany, rainbow skittle land and those who are reading the news and know what's going on. I'm being a bit facetious, but seriously? Russia? Russian media? Sure, you can say Russian media. I could also say Japanese media named him, because the name is public. Russia isn't the only country that's talking about news. I'm sure the name Eric Ciaramella has appeared all over the internet in various countries. But of course, they love their Russia narrative. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw you one more. So here's a quote from CNN's Jake Tapper. The Obama administration has used the Espionage Act to go after whistleblowers who leaked to journalists more than all other previous administrations combined. Fact check says true. But it is nuanced. See, what Jake Tapper was referring to is not official chain of command whistleblowers. So it is different. But I still think the point is apt. Back in 2014, Jake Tapper was talking about individuals who had evidence of wrongdoing, who, instead of going to their bosses and filing a complaint to be protected under the whistleblower statute, went to journalists instead. That they were essentially they were essentially leakers who some people view as whistleblowers. However, you can argue they're not the same thing. But if we're going to be honest about blowing the whistle, like the ABC News employee who left for CBS and then got fired, assuming they're the whistleblower, is there a general colloquial difference between who you blow the whistle to and whether or not they should be protected? For the sake of argument, let's say fine. I'll give this one to you on the left. You're talking about legal protections for those who follow the rules within their branch of government and blow the whistle to their superiors. They can't be fired or named by the IG and things like that. Okay. Then the issue really comes down to the double standard when it comes to leakers. I don't believe Trump has used the Espionage Act. At least I haven't seen anything about it. Maybe he did. But Trump has fired people he's accused of leaking. But the media says, what they mentioned about WikiLeaks and the double standard. Why should Donald Trump face all of these leaks and do nothing about it? If he did, they would claim that he was doing something wrong. And when Trump does fire people, they say, oh no, he's dismantling government. Oh heavens, how dare he? But when Obama does it, nothing. I asked someone a question about impeaching Donald Trump. I said, do you think it would be an impeachable offense if Trump ordered a drone strike on a civilian cafe that killed an American 16-year-old? Well, yeah, everybody says yes, I think so, because American citizens have due process. You can't do that. Plus, civilian cafe, that's nuts. I'm sure other people got hurt. Yeah, Obama did that. That's what Obama did to Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki. Was Obama impeached over that? Of course not, because that was in line with foreign policy. So I'll tell you what I think this comes down to. One, tribalism. There are a lot of people on the left that aren't going to say anything about the Yovanovitch alleged perjury. Okay? They're not going to say anything about it. They're not. They're tweeting today about Donald Trump on The View. It was a viral trend, saying that Rand Paul and the Russians and, leaving the name. Okay. That's what they're going to talk about, tribalism. The other thing I think this has to do with is, look, when Trump wanted to pull out of Syria, you saw bipartisan outrage. Everybody was like, no, we must stay in the Middle East. Yes. So long as you're carrying out the decades-old foreign policy, everybody seems fine with it. When Trump ordered a missile strike on Syria back, years ago, they said Trump seems presidential. I'll give you my personal opinion on what I think happens. No, it's not a conspiracy theory. No, I'm not saying I believe it to be true. It's just an idea I had as to what's happening. You see, we have intelligence departments that there's a foreign policy in place going back decades. And this is why I think it makes sense when Vindman said that Trump was, undermining or something to that effect, something bad about foreign policy. Many people, including Matt Taibbi, said, doesn't the president set foreign policy? Technically, yes. What I think happens is, Bush gets elected and he's then presented all this classified information where they say, here's what's happening overseas. And Bush says, okay, then do what you think is right. Well, I'll follow through and we'll succeed. Then Bush leaves, Obama gets elected. Obama walks in and they say, Mr. President, here's what's happening in the Middle East. I'm not saying it's a deep state. I'm saying these are the files, the classified information, whether or not any employee stays or goes. I'm just saying, here's what we've been working on at the CIA. And Obama looks at it and says, I understand. All right, let's carry on. And yes, as long as he follows that general foreign policy decision, Middle Eastern presence, etc., everything's cool. What do you think happened when Trump got elected and they sat him down and said, take a look at this information? Trump was probably like, no, we ain't doing none of this. This is bad. We got to be about America. And then all of a sudden, this long-standing, decades-old foreign policy machine that's carried on forever, from Bill Clinton to Bush, the regime change nonsense that so many people railed about, Trump comes in, and now here's the way I described it. There's an ivory tower, and the peasants let a bull loose, and he's rampaging through it. And I'm being hyperbolic. I know, I understand a lot of people, the economy is doing really great. I'm not saying he's destroying everything, but in the establishment, they're looking at this tower where they felt safe, where they had this long-standing policy. Well, Trump didn't want it. And Trump didn't want to do what they wanted to do, so they're mad at him. So that's what the whistleblowers are saying, that Trump was effectively undermining U.S. foreign policy in Ukraine. What policy? Putting a CIA director on the board of a foreign gas company? I understand Gazprom, Qatar Turkey pipeline. It's complicated. But you know what? At the end of the day, Trump's the president. Should he be impeached because there was questions about the corruption of Joe Biden? In my opinion, I think the answer is no. The problem is it's been years of scandal after scandal, the same strategies from the intelligence agencies. They don't like Trump. The New York Times called it a deep state. I thought that was so ridiculous. This idea that there's a permanent government, everything is a step too far. It's not that complicated. There are just people who work there who say, hey man, I've been working on this for the past 2 years. You get elected, now you're trying to undermine me. Well, yeah, he's the president. But you take all of these independent actors and it looks like a conspiracy. It's a standalone complex. And they pop up and they testify and they don't like the president. And that's what's really happening. So the New York Times can call it a deep state conspiracy or whatever they want. But that's really now kind of what it looks like. At least according to the New York Times. In the end, let me wrap this up. The bigger question is not about all of this. It's just as simply, do you think there will be conversations from the left about the alleged perjury? Do you think they will continue claiming Trump Jr. broke the law? We know exactly what's going to happen. The right, of course, will say, look, they're going to agree with me, right? Trump didn't break the law, Trump Jr. He tweeted out a story. And assuming this is true, it's perjury. It's cut and dry. The left will say, however, no, we know that Trump is trying to intimidate, to scare the whistleblower. You know, it's the craziest thing to me? When people say Donald Trump was trying to get dirt on his political rival. Are you kidding me? You think Trump is scared of Joe Biden? Come on, dude. The guy's raised no money. His Iowa state director is pathetic, hasn't even campaigned in the state in 7 years. No, I don't think Biden has any idea what he's doing. And I think I do not believe Trump is concerned at all about losing to Biden. That's ridiculous, especially when all the analytics say Trump is poised to win. But what they do need is an orange man bad narrative to become pervasive enough that negative partisanship drives historic voter turnout, and then the Democrats narrowly win. That's what I think they're doing. I'll leave it there. I'll see you all in the next segment at youtube.com/TimCastNews, 6 p.m. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time.